My name is Marco Pereira. In 2005 I created the Hypergeometrical Universe Theory. The Hypergeometrical Universe Theory was the result of exploring not the most sophisticated possible model but the simplest one. It wasn't clear to me why the proverbial balloon—a lightspeed expanding hyperspherical universe topology or LEHU—wasn't part of the discussion. I wasn't happy with the Big Bang model and decided to explore LEHU as an alternative. In doing so, I realized that for me to create a 4D model for electromagnetism, the mass of the electron would have to be around 1 atomic mass unit, or the mass of a hydrogen atom. I put 1 and 1 to make 2 and proposed a new model for matter in a 4-dimensional universe. That was the motivation for the fundamental dilator. This path leads to the simplest possible understanding of the universe, the most fundamental theory of everything. My theory is expansive and touch many areas. That said, I am sure there is still work to be done and future generations will be able to expand upon what I did. The Hypergeometrical Universe Theory contains 3 hypotheses. The universe is a lightspeed expanding hyperspherical hypersurface. Here you can see yourself at position A, looking into the sky, and seeing light emitted by a Type 1a supernova, SN1a. When it was at position B and the universe was smaller 4D radius, denser, and more homogeneous. Notice that the universe and all its stuff is at the hyperspherical shell locus and that locus expands at the speed of light. Notice that there isn't any brain, structure connecting galaxies, etc. Who shows that the receding of galaxies is because they act exactly like dots on a balloon. That is, they travel along the radial direction, perpendicularly to our 3D space. Hence, Who does not use or need dark matter, dark energy to explain reality. The second hypothesis states that matter is made directly and simply from localized, shape-shifting deformations of space. The monomeric unit is called fundamental dilator, FD. FD is a coherence between stationary states of deformation of space. Notice that I said space and not spacetime. Spacetime plays no role in the hypergeometrical universe theory. Here you can see the fundamental dilator representations of the electron and positron particles. The letters orientation maps the phases orientation with respect to our 3D universe. Vertical letters indicate that that phase is perpendicular to our 3D universe and does not interact. The closed loop indicates that the coherence will repeat for the lifetime of the particle. Here you can see the fundamental dilator representations of the proton and antiproton particles. Neutrons contain fundamental dilators for electron and proton plus 2 transmutation chords, shown in red. The transmutation chords correspond to half anti-neutrino each and map to rotations within the 3D hypersurface, as opposed to spin. Notice that W- is just a state in the decay process. One can understand this in terms of transition state theory. Now that you know that in the hypergeometrical universe theory, matter is made directly and simply from deformed space, it becomes clear that the universe contains only space, deformed space and time. That is the simplest possible model, and because of that, HU is the fundamental theory of everything. Immediately, it becomes clear that all matter in the universe could be created from a fragmented deformation of space. More specifically, since our observable universe is clearly tri-dimensional, the universe started as a Heisenberg-dictated 4D hyperspherical metric fluctuation. The deformation configuration that is consistent with the creation of the universe contains dilation in the inner layers and contraction in the outer layers, not unlike Prince Rupert drop. Immediately after the formation of the initial metric fluctuation, partial recombination took place. Since the 4D radius of the universe was 421 light-seconds, The partial recombination took 421 seconds to occur, leaving just two layers, the inner dilation layer or IDL and the outermost contraction layer or OCL. The inner dilation layer contains the negative energy that is missing in our universe. Energy conservation is used to calculate the 4D radius using a maximum density, black hole density, predicted by HU. All particles in the universe surf the inner dilation layer. That is covered in the Silver Surfer paradigm for motion. Once the partial recombination occurred, the only inner layer, the inner dilation layer, pushed the outermost contraction layer and fragmented it, giving rise to the blackholium. Blackholium is a new name because I needed to distinguish this black hole shaped as a hyperspherical shell from the garden variety black hole, which is spherical. Inertial motion or natural velocity motion made the blackholium to continue its forever expansion. Of course, forever here means for the lifetime of this universe cycle. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Immediately, it becomes clear that as the blackholium expands, it will eventually become a neutronium, hyperspherical shell-shaped neutron star. That will be a phase transition since suddenly matter will become neutron matter and acquire an internal, orbital, degree of freedom. That is when hyperspherical harmonic neutronium acoustic oscillations are triggered. Further expansion will lead to the freezing of these NAO, neutronium acoustic oscillations, since at 300 MeV per cubic femtometer, the sound velocity suddenly decreases. This is the source of the cosmic microwave background features. On the top you can see the Planck satellite observation. HU simulated hyperspherical harmonics and sampled the density modulations at the locus of the CMB, approximately 1,4D radius from us. So, HU simulated 4D acoustic waves and measured their effect on a 2D spherical surface embedded within the hyperspherical shell. The simulated fluctuation on the left is due to the freezing of the neutronium acoustic oscillations, and it is a small component, 1 in 100,000 parts, of the energy released upon neutronium decay. Neutronium decays when its density is such that neutrons become free and decay into protons, electrons and antineutrinos, releasing 0.78 MeV of kinetic energy. That is when the universe gets hot. That happens at the end of the first day in the life cycle of this universe. Notice that HU BigPopCosmogenesis is a cyclic model, driven by Heisenberg-dictated metric fluctuations and eventual recombination of the positive and negative space deformations. So, up to the end of the first day in this universe cycle, the universe was cold. It started without a single internal degree of freedom, which corresponds to 0 Kelvin temperature. It gained orbital angular degree of freedom when the blackholium phase transitioned into the neutronium. Hyperspherical harmonic acoustic oscillations were triggered at that point. These acoustic oscillations are not the standard baryonic acoustic oscillations or BAO, since they occurred in a phase, cold neutronium, that has no equivalent in the Big Bang model. The appropriate name for them is neutronium acoustic oscillations or NAO. Baryonic acoustic oscillations take place when the neutronium decays, releasing all its energy. HU doesn't need to change anything in the modeling of baryonic acoustic oscillations or the CMB spherical harmonic spectrum. HU allows for the use of Einstein's work where it works, locally. All phenomenon described within the CMB modeling are local phenomenon. HU derives a simpler and distinct cosmic distance ladder or cosmological ruler. It has the CMB occurring when the universe was 11 million years old and 3,400 Kelvin. HU used Saha equilibrium model to derive the recombination density and temperature. Further refinement can be achieved by using non-equilibrium conditions. These are HU conditions at the recombination epoch, 11 million years after the Big Pop. There you have it. A simple explanation on how the universe was created without any energy or breaking any law of physics.